Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
A little sore after shoveling all day.
Oh my gosh. Did you guys get lots of snow?
No, just out of practice.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
We have barely anything here because we're so close to the water. It's nice.
Beautiful. There wasn't a whole lot, but it took me about 2.5 hours to get it done.
Oh my gosh.
It's been 12 years since I've had to do it, so
Oh, good exercise.
absolutely, I'm going to be strong by the end of winter.
Exactly. I'm going to get some smudge going here. Wow. So what do you think? Did it feel like a month ago? I don't think it did. Like, to me, a few weeks.
So traveling at 650 miles per second.
And in a second. So before we get going, I'm just gonna get some smudge going. We're waiting for others to hop on. Crazy videos I made you watch, hey?
With a little old driver so lively and quick, I knew in a moment it must be Saint Nick.
Okay. I'm going to. Somebody's TV is going.
Oh, by the way,
Okay. And I think a couple more are going to join us here pretty quick. So I hope you have a book of shadows and a candle going. And let the smudge go. Always good to smudge. So yeah, that was a few videos I had you watch. I have a few more I'm going to get you to watch too, because there is a lot to learn and a lot to connect with. I think a few more are probably also going to join in. And while we do that, we'll get ready. So if you did get a Book of Shadows, we are going to be doing the Book of Shadows blessing. The other thing we're going to do tonight is move on, finish up the Wiccan read that we talked about last class, and then go into some principles of magic. There's principles of magic, and there is also the Wiccan principles. So a couple different sets of them we'll be discussing. Make sure you have your smudge and your area ready with a candle. And I'm going to start by casting our circle. Where's all my stuff? I have things everywhere. My goodness, I can't believe it. Oh, okay. So while others are still joining, I'm just going to start casting the circle. In this place, the circle's round, we consecrate the sacred ground. With golden light, the space around, all power here contained and bound. From the north, the things that manifest. From the east, the things of mind. From the south, the things that motivate. And west, our souls refined. And yet no place or time there be between the worlds, our words and we. Ancient ones, come and see, our space is sealed, so mote it be. Okay. So welcome, class 2. I hope you watched all of those videos. And I wanted to, that is honestly where a lot of the magic has come from, that has surfaced into this world. And just as you've seen how crazy or weird or whatever, our part of our spirituality is not to judge. And in this circle of magic, you will meet people with all sorts of personalities and interests. And we do accept everyone. We may not understand what everyone does, but I hope you're able to see some points of view and what people believe while they're practicing. Some people will get a little possessive or possessed, and it really depends on the spirit that you're communicating with and the consciousness that you're acting from. If you are practicing, you want to make sure you're practicing of the light and you're practicing for good things. Otherwise, you can attract different energies. Practicing if you're angry is not something that, is good, but sacrificing your anger in magic is something that's good. So I'm just getting a couple messages. There's a couple people having trouble logging in, and they should be able to get in shortly. Once I log on, I can't really do anything online. So if people do have trouble, I can't really do anything about it after we start this. So hopefully they can find a way. The other thing is there is principles in magic that I wanted to talk about today. But before we begin, let us go into the rest of the Wiccan read. And I hope you were actually able to re-listen to last class. It's always good to re-listen before we move on to the next class, just so that you're fresh on where we are. So when we were working in, while we were doing our last class, we were discussing what the actual Wiccan read means, because the Wiccan read, the set of moralities that I shared last class, has a lot to do with how magic is working, and there's secrets in that read, and that's what we were discussing last time. And in the last class, we spoke, where were we? I believe I was talking about when the moon is growing, we move around the sacred circle clockwise, and that is to bring in good fortune and good energy. And then when the moon is shrinking, we move around the sacred circle. So when it's waning, right now we're in a waxing moon until full moon. And then after the 12th, it will be waning moon. And that is when we do our circles anti-clockwise, and we do banishing work or releasing work, or that's when we're working magic against things that we don't like. So when the lady's moon is new, kiss thy hand to her ×2. And when the moon begins to return to its new phase, and that's when we get to the new moon, we are giving her our honor and our love. And that's why we are welcoming her back into a new cycle, and we kiss our fingers to her ×2. So we're sending her blessings like we do after we finish all of our rituals. When the moon rides at her peak, so that's when it's the full moon, then the heart's desire does speak. And then that is why we use the full moon energy, and it's because it is at the highest. And because we are here right along the Fundy Bay where the highest tides are in the world, we actually have the most powerful moon there is to practice magic. So it's pretty incredible. And we can really tap into that. So when the energy of the full moon is at its fullest and its highest, it's a good time for us to do magic, and we get the results that we want. And that's why we will do our magic during the full moon. Heed the north wind's mighty gale, lock the door and trip the sail. So that, when we say that, that is about the north element and the element of earth and its correspondence to winter, and to lock the door because we don't want negative entry to come into our home. And when we are living this cycle up until spring, this is a time where a lot of negativity can get into us and into our homes. So we lock our door and we don't let anything come in. So we are aware of the wind. And maybe this year you have noticed how much more wind there is, or maybe you've listened to it more or paid attention to it more or just noticed it. But when the wind is blowing like it is in the season, that means that there's a lot of cleansing that's taking place on our path that is preparing us for the future. So anything that is coming up to the surface right now is either going to be part of your future and needs to be adjusted, or it's going to be something that needs to be released or changed so that you can move on. Otherwise, you're going to be pulling in these energies that are active into the new year. And this is a time where we do want to get rid of that energy. When the wind blows from the west, departed souls will have no rest. And this is about the south element, its fire and its correspondence to summer and our passions. So whenever we have the wind blowing, or sorry, I said that wrong. When the wind blows from the south, love will kiss thee on the mouth. So whenever we have wind that blows from the south, and that's, if you've been to my place, my doorway, when we go out the side door faces the south, whenever we have that wind blowing us from the south, that means that there is passion in play and purpose is in play. So it's really important to pay attention to your heart at that time, what you're feeling and craving, who you're attracted to, and who you're also repelling, okay? When the wind blows from the west, that's the element of water, departed souls will have no rest. So anytime we have a west wind, that means, and that west wind would be coming from the direction that we have our sunsets, that means spirit is around us. So whenever a west wind blows, that's when we take our energy and do some sort of divination or pendulum work, cards, anything where you can connect and speak to spirit. It's also a time where we will bring our chalice out, and we'll let our chalice and the water in our chalice sit in our home overnight. And that's so that we can have that cleansing energy from our ancestors, and our portal of power will rise. When the wind blows from the east, expect the new and set the feast. So whenever we get an east wind, it means something new is trying to come into our life. So be open to receiving. Whenever there's an east wind, be excited for something new that the spirit wants to bring you. And the element air represents communication and movement. The west and the water represents our intuition, and that there is a cleansing happening to our spirit. And that's why the ancestors and the spirits are coming with the west. 9 woods in the cauldron, go burn them fast or burn them slow. So there's 9 sacred woods that we are that we consider in our life and use every year, and a lot of times they are burnt in our cauldron or bonfire, but they represent their apple, birch, fir, hawthorn, hazel, oak, rowan, which is mountain ash, vine, and willow. So these are sacred woods, and we will use them through the year. Right now, this month, I'm going to want you to pick cedar. So if you can get some cedar leaves or cedar boughs, just the green parts of it, We're going to use that as a medicine this month. Use it for ourselves and also maybe try to get someone to use it as well. And cedar is something that grows around here. Some people might even have it in their yards. Elder be the lady's tree, burn it not, or cursed you'll be. So as witches, we never cut the elder tree. The elder tree is considered the portal of power for the goddess. And when the goddess wants to come into our realm, it is said that that is the tree that she enters. So the elder tree is considered hers. So if you want elderberries or elder flowers, it's good to get it from someone else instead of cutting it yourself. So it is good to get to know someone that maybe does have an elder tree and harvest it. I have someone that I can get my elder from. So I get my berries and I can make the syrup, the flowers I can use in magic, but I don't cut them myself. And they say that if you burn it, you will get cursed. So also we don't light elder wood as a fire in the bonfire in our cauldron. It is considered her portal of power. Just like the apple trees are considered the portal of power and a doorway for unicorns, unicorn magic. So every tree is actually a portal into this world by some type of being. When the wheel begins to turn, soon the Beltane fires will burn. And that regards to the wheel of the year, Beltane being the spring Sabbath and the fire festival. So we really live by the wheel. The wheel is also our wheel of fortune. So as nature blooms, so does the things that we want. So the more that we can connect to that, the stronger. When the wheel has turned to Yule, light the log and the horned god rules. And that's where we are right now. We're entering the time of the winter Sabbath, the winter solstice. And this is considered the time when God and the masculine energies are reborn. So hopefully you're going to take part in that ritual so that you can experience it. He flower, bush and tree, by the lady blessed be. And what that means is that we respect nature and her bounty, and we believe in taking care of the world and respecting it. We don't litter, and we don't cut things for magic and not give an offering. We believe that giving is receiving and receiving is giving. So we respect everything that's alive. Where the ripplings waters flow, cast a stone and truth you'll know. There's a lot of rituals that we can do in magic, and I'm going to get you to try a few of them. And this represents being able to know the truth and finding anything out that you want. If there is anything that you want or anything you want to know, it is attainable in some way. It's also a metaphor for our actions. As ripples are caused by a stone that falls into our water, that's the same as the effects that happens all around us. So when we take a stone and throw it into calm water and ask a question, we know that if it's an odd number, it's a no, or if it's an even number, it's a yes. Or if it's an odd number, it's a lie. Also by the number of ripples, that would tell us a lot of different things as well. So we can use the sounds of leaves and a stone thrown into the water to get knowledge. And we're going to have fun with that too, because I want you to try a bunch of those things so that you can communicate with the natural elements of the earth. With a fool, or where are we? When you have hold and hold a need, hearken not to others' greed. And what that means is that it's important for us to be true to ourselves, and we do not need to follow the ideas of others. Individuality is sacred to us, and that you have no need to envy anyone else or to feel that they have more than you. You need to give thanks for what you have and be excited about the growth of your fortune and your life as you're working with spirit. With a fool, no season spend, nor be counted as his friend. That means that we are associated. People will associate us with who we hang out with who our company is. So we want to hang around with people that are beneficial to us, that are positive for our spirit. We don't want to hang around with people that pull us down or keep us into a negative state of consciousness. So with a fool, no season spend, nor be counted as his friend. If they are someone that is considered a fool, we don't associate with them. We'll do what we're supposed to when they're, around us, but we don't want to have trouble in our life or negativity. And so we honor and we hold control over who and what is in our life. Merry meet and merry part, bright the cheek and warm the heart. And that means that you need to be true and good to yourself and to the people that are around you, your friends and family. And whenever they are in presence, you need to give them 100% of your attention and energy. And it's very important in magic to be authentic, but also to be present in each moment. And that is also respecting the people that are around you. So it's important that we brighten the cheeks and warm the heart, that we are there, present for that person, and that we're helpful and we give good guidance. Our spirit guides would never say anything negative to us. And so we believe that is the same for us. Why would we speak negative to other people? We're here to help people and guide them. If you don't have anything positive to say, don't say anything. Mind the threefold law, you should 3 times bad and 3 times good. So we really do pay attention to the law of 3. We believe and we understand and learn to understand how things work when we're sending them out into the universe and how they return. And that also includes the law of 3 and how all of this magic and our attitudes and our emotions are connected to that karmic consciousness. And so when we are doing magic and we're asking for things, we actually, whatever we send out, I expect it to come back better than what I've sent out. More powerful, 3 times more powerful than what I am saying. So the law of 3 runs in all things. And as I said last class, it represents us, it represents divinity, and it represents the creation that we're doing or that we're trying to manifest in our life. It also represents the triple moons and the honest cycle that nature goes through. So just like the seasons have its cycle and we have our cycle as a human going from, young to older, so does magic. Magic, whenever we are focusing on an outcome, we are creating a cycle. And we need to hone that power and understand that, yes, it's naturally being made, but we have to keep our stand and our control in the place until that cycle returns to us. So with magic, there is a lot of discipline. And so whenever we are trying to do good magic, and we're trying to manifest something that is tangible, we share that when it comes to us, because we show that, we're bringing it in not just for us, but for others in this world. When misfortune is a now, wear the star upon the brow. So as we talked about last class, the pentacle and the pentagram are signs of the witch. And whenever we are in trouble, it doesn't matter if we're getting into an argument with someone or we see a car accident happening and we could be in it. We will put the pentagram or the star on our forehead. We visualize it and we are safe. And if you can actually get to the place where you can visualize that being put upon you and even visualize it blue, and you can actually be saved from pretty much anything. So it is very sacred, and it is also a symbol that you want to know and come to use in your life for protection. And that is why we'll wear them. You can see Lisa's beautiful necklace right there. Okay, a lot of people will say, oh, is that the Star of David? Okay, because they don't realize it's a 5-pointed instead of the 6, but it represents all of the elements, and it also represents us standing in a sacred circle. So if you can get to know the star and you can visualize putting the star on your third eye, or somehow visualize it happening, practice that as much as you can, and you'll be safe from any harm. Okay, so even if you have to, you know, practice it like that, just so that you know you're protected every day, do it until you can actually just visualize it and it's on there, or visualize a star and it's there, you know it, or you can feel it. So whenever we're into any type of situation where we want help, or there's some kind of trouble, we will visualize a blue pentagram and on our forehead, and it will protect us from any type of harm. True in love you must ever be, lest thy love be false to thee. So that means that you need to be true and loyal in love and in your relationships with people. But if someone cheats you out, that's when they're done. So we believe, you know, there's certain choices that we're going to make individually, but if our love cheats, then you can give them the elbow. And you know, in my life, you know, I do a lot of readings for people. It's typically what I do full time, and I get a lot of people that are having affairs, or are with someone that's married, or, you know, and the thing is yeah, you can be in that situation, but you're going to come to a point where you need to make a decision, right? And the thing is it doesn't matter if you are married or you plan on leaving that partner because your life is like horrible. You need to follow your heart, and your universe is co-creating the best possible life for you. So you can't be hard on yourself, and you also can't stay in a place where you know it's not for you. So this is about being true to you. It's about being true to your love and to live that. Otherwise, you're just ripping yourself off. I know a lot of people who have been married for all their life and they've never really felt that in love feeling. So it's really important that if you don't feel like you're in love with your partner, that you do something to get yourself there, or you practice love magic, or you figure out what needs to be healed and what's keeping you separate. So being true in love is so important, and us being true in love, not just with our relationships with the person we're with, but with our children, with, you know, everything or everyone that we hold judgments to. That's got to change. We don't want to be looking at people and seeing what they should be doing. We want to look at people and understand where they are, see where they're headed, and maybe give them that guidance. Okay? So be true in your relationships, be true to you. And that's when we get into 8 words the Wiccan read fulfills, and it harm none, do as you will. And that means that we can pretty much do whatever we want as long as it's not harming anyone else. And we will do what we want. We do that already. We are a manifestation of our life. And what we have created so far is that, right? It's a manifestation of who we are and what we're doing. So now I want to move on into some principles. And these principles are really important. And you will get a recording of this later on, most likely tomorrow. But I'm going to go over the 13 principles of the Wiccan belief. And then I'm going to go over the 13 principles of the magic. Okay, so there's 2 different ones. Some of them might have a couple steps that are the same, but as Wiccans, this is something that you should definitely know. So the 13 principles of the Wiccan belief, let's start with number 1. So we practice rites to attune ourselves to the natural rhythms and the life forces, marked by the phases of the moon, the seasons, and the cross quarters. So it is really important for us to stay connected and to stay attuned to these forces every day and every night. So that's what we practice our rites to. We take a look at what astrological power is there, what moon is it, what day is it, and then we decide what type of magic we're going to do. 2, we've recognized that our intelligence gives us a unique responsibility toward our environment. So we seek to live in harmony with nature, in ecological balance, offering fulfillment to life and consciousness within an evolutionary concept. So what that means is that we believe in our harmony with nature and we seek it. We also believe in what we're doing is something that is beneficial for the consciousness of the planet. We believe that our magic and sharing our magic and honoring people who are opening up to magic is part of an evolutionary concept. And that's why for me, I like to keep things kind of private, and then whoever, you know, comes across my path is meant to, and I can trust that fully by the spirit. So we do feel that we have a unique responsibility toward the future and where the, I don't know, collective consciousness is even part of it, where that's headed. Number 3, we acknowledge the power far greater than it's apparent to any average person. Because it's far greater than the ordinary, we sometimes call it supernatural, but we see it as lying within what is naturally potential to all. So that's kind of, for me, I believe that if it's out of the norm, unawakened people, then it is considered supernatural. I do believe that a lot of the abilities that I possess and that I do is supernatural because it is something that has taken training, it has taken a lot of deep understanding, and is pretty much invisible. When we're working with our psychic pathways, when we're communicating with spirit, it is a different world and it is a different realm. So we believe that those things are supernatural, even though they're more natural than, you know, how we think. 4, we conceive of the creative power in the universe as manifesting through polarity, as masculine and feminine, and that this creative power lives in all people and functions through the interaction of the masculine or feminine. We value neither above the other, knowing each to support the other. We also value sex as pleasure, as the symbol and embodiment of life, and as one of the sources of energies used in magical practice and religious worship. So you saw in some of those videos, a lot of people were practicing sky-clad, which is actually means naked. In our circle, you can definitely practice naked. There's lots of times where I've practiced naked in my own rights. I don't do it in the circles, okay? I believe that when we come together as our group, we're coming in sky-clad. That means that we're pure in our nature. So we can wear clothes in our ritual, but as long as we are pure in body, mind, and spirit at that circle, then we are in fact just as naked as if we were sky-clad. Everything that we practice and everything that we want, whether it is love, money, health, something for someone else, there's a masculine and a feminine side to it. And it's really important to be able to recognize where we can align to that energy when we're practicing our magic so that we get the beneficial effects. Number 5, we recognize both outer worlds and inner worlds. Our psychological worlds, sometimes also known as the spiritual world, the collective consciousness, the inner places, and so on. And we seek in the interaction of these dimensions as the basis for paranormal phenomena and magical exercises. We neglect neither dimension for the other. both seeing as necessary for our fulfillment. So that means that when we are practicing or we are focusing on our life every day, and we are actually tuning into our inner worlds and our outer worlds. We understand that our psychic abilities also have a psychological effect, and that our psyche, as we process things, also are either connecting to our psychic abilities and spirituality or blocking us. So we pay attention to everything. The more aware you are of things, the more powerful you will become. And one thing that I used to do is I started with practicing photogenic. So I would walk into a room and I would close my eyes and see if I could remember everything that was in there. And once I was able to get good at that, I started to do that towards how I felt when I walked into rooms. So I was able to get the sight and what changed, or if there was anything, then I would get to the atmosphere and how I felt in that place, and then I would go to the spirit. So when we are aware, we are able to communicate and understand more that is there than the average person. Number 6, we do not recognize any authority or hierarchy, but we do honor those who teach, respect, and we respect those who share their greater knowledge and wisdom, and those who have courageously given themselves in teachings or leadership. So what that means is a lot of people, let's take a look at the sacred circle. A lot of people have spiritual businesses. And for me, if they're a part of the sacred circle, I honor whatever they want. It doesn't matter if it's the lottery or they want to be a guru. I will honor their path. And that also means that if there is any type of teacher or elder or someone that you don't know who is out there in the world doing something that's positive, we give them an honor and respect. It's like when you meet any medicine man from any tribe, you give them honor and respect. And your spirit just knows how to go there, okay? However, you will be notified when people are doing negative things. And if anything negative comes to you or crosses your path, it's important for you to transmute that energy, okay? Either by having a discussion or by cleaning up what you heard by lighting something or smudging something, okay? As far as what we believe, you know, we talked about last class, the different things that we believe in as far as the God and the goddess and the one and all of these different things. Nobody has a set belief. It is whatever it is that you can communicate with and that you can work magic with. That's your religion. That's your Wiccan way. And it's just about being wise, is seeking that knowledge and performing magic and finding what works. So it is a type of science. So we don't actually have all the same God. We would visualize the goddess differently, the god differently, and we will be practicing with different energies of that. 7, we seek religion, magic, and wisdom in living as being united in the way one views the world and lives within. A worldview or a philosophy of life that we identify as witchcraft or the Wiccan way. So that's what I mean is when we are practicing our stuff, each one of you will pick things that are of importance for your magic. And that is because you're creating your own way. And we may also perform the same magic, but all get different results. So therefore, nothing is the same, but it is all because we are connected magically. We do help each other magically. 8, calling oneself a witch does not make a witch, but neither does heredity itself, or collecting the titles, degrees, and initiation. Witches seek to control the forces within themselves that makes life possible in order to live wisely, well, without harm to others, and in harmony with natures. So for us, you know, nowadays a lot of people on social media are having fun and they're all calling themselves witches and stuff, but you probably never lit a candle or performed a spell. And that's okay. That's fine. a lot of times there's danger into that depending on what their intentions are or where they're going with it. But what makes a witch is the person they are and the things that they're able to do and how they're helping and the path that they have. We are people that believe in manifestation. And if we are not manifesting anything, then we're not practicing anything. So our power and our ability is about manifesting the life that we want. So just know sometimes you'll find things that will kind of bother you. And you have to let it, you can't lash out, let people be who they are. You're not responsible for anyone else but yourself. 9, we acknowledge that it is the affirmation and fulfillment of life in a continuation of evolution and development of consciousness that gives meaning to the universe we know and to our personal role with it. So the one thing that I find very sacred about Wicca and witchcraft is that anyone that is involved in it has an essence that nobody else has a path, has a purpose, and has a gift. And each one of us is an asset. So whenever we come into circle, each person that's coming into circle is a divine aspect of our evolutionary path for the future and does have a purpose. And that's how I feel about every person that I have in my circle. So there is a sacredness to it, and there is an evolution for each person. And watching each other grow and creating the life we want is amazing when you know that it does have to do with fulfilling the life that they want, but also seeking that magic and finding that magic and celebrating that magic. Number 10, our only animosity towards Christianity or toward any other religion or philosophy of life is to the extent that its institutions have claimed to be the only way. So out of every single religion that's out there, Wicca and witchcraft has actually been probably the only religion that has never harmed another person. Okay? We don't believe in it. We believe that people they can believe in whatever they want. If it makes their heart full, then that is good. That's what they should be. I personally have done a lot of studies in different religions and cultures. I became an interfaith minister like a long, long time ago, in 2004. And at that time, I was really interested in understanding what the underlying concepts are. And to me, Christians who are trying to perform miracles are doing the same thing that we're doing, trying to manifest. So there's magic in religion, but the only thing I do not agree on is how they judge and how they have destroyed other religions. I also don't like the fact that we have demons and devils because of these religions. So we don't have any attitude. We don't get into fights with people because they're religious, and we don't deny freedom like they do. And that's the one thing that we don't agree with, is the fact that they deny freedom to others and they suppress their ways of religious practice and belief. So even today in this time, you'll get people that are religious that will cross your path, and a lot of times we see that as a challenge on how we handle things. And you don't want to get all crazy and witchy on their asses, but you do need to handle it well. And I do have a video that will be going up that will help with how you handle those, okay? I have been doing this for so many years that I may have had 6 situations that I really had to take my step forward. One was with the Satanic Temple in Vancouver, and they were angry because I was a metaphysical store and wouldn't carry their Bible. So I had to explain to them why and let the leader know that I'm not scared of him. And then a couple other were different religious institutions, you know, someone coming, well, it always happens during a workshop, or it always happens when we're doing something. So that's the other thing, is when we do our rituals in circle and the phone rings, you're meant to just leave it. Don't stop things to enter anything else in. You just don't know what you're going to get. So we don't believe in denying any freedom. People can be who they are, what they are. It doesn't matter. And I'm telling you, in the Wiccan path and in the witchcraft community, you're going to meet some strangers. You're going to meet people that believe in things you didn't even know was out there. And you need to honor that with, you know, a clear face. Number 11, as witches, we are not threatened by debates on the history of the craft, the origins of various terms, the legitimacy of various aspects of different traditions. We are concerned only with our present and our future. So when you get into watching more of these videos that I'm going to be getting you to look at, you're going to find that there's a lot of different stories out there. And same with the things that I'm teaching you. Some things that I teach you, you're going to connect with, and other things you're not. That's your individual spirituality, okay? 12, we do not accept the concept of absolute evil. We do not worship any entity known as Satan or the devil, as defined by the Christian tradition. We do not seek power through the suffering of others. And we do not accept the concept that personal benefit can only be derived by denial to another. We acknowledge that we seek with nature for what is contributory to our health and our well-being. So we don't actually have, when you watched Aleister Crowley, he got into a point where he was creating spirits from different elements and having them do their bidding. We don't do that type of work. We work with the natural elements and bring that into existence with them. So when we can jump into something like that, it can get pretty exciting. Let me just find my other thing. What am I looking for here? So those are the principles of the Wiccan belief. There's also principles of the magical. Let me just find my workbook here. Okay. So I'm going to do the magic, and then we're going to do our Book of Shadows. So does everyone have a Book of Shadows, or a journal or a binder that they're going to use? Because we're going to do that here in a couple minutes. So make sure you have that ready. And it is also going to be something that you can do when you listen to this as well. Okay, so first, let's go into some more of these principles. I did the principles of Wicca. Now I'm going to do the principles of magic. And this is something that all traditions and anyone that actually practices spell work and magic go by these as well, okay? So the first one is, 1, we see magic as a natural science. There's lots of different avenues, there's lots of different ways, there's lots of borders and principles and laws, but we stay within them that are positive, and we explore the territories to observe these laws and get to know them. And you're going to be learning about a lot of universal laws and how that works with magic. The second one is to harm none. It is an old witch tradition that whatever one does will be returned to them threefold, 3 times bad or 3 times good. This harmful magic extracts a very high price. This rule applies to oneself as well. Don't do anything, magically speaking, that will harm you. If you wish to break up a love affair, or say you want to cause tons of money to fall out of the bank vault into your hands, look somewhere else. Magic is never worth the consequences. 3, magic requires effort. And the effort that we use in magic is more psychic. So it's really important that we do put as much precise energy as we can into it in terms of our time to perform magic, our energy, and the attention to ritual. So even though we do a simple spell for, say we're doing a simple spell for money, we need to hold that spell until it comes to us. And I don't mean hold it in mind, but hold your presence open to receive it and keep yourself aware of where you can receive it, okay? Magic is not instantaneous. So one thing you have to know is that when you are practicing magic, there is a cycle that you're creating. So there's a cycle of manifestation that can happen. That can happen in 1 month. The cycle could be a year. The cycle could be 10 years. So it is very good to always make sure that you let the magic know how long you give it. When we do our full moon ceremonies, typically we want our manifestations to occur by the next full moon, okay? But some things may take a year or longer. So just know that it's not instantaneous. However, whatever you add to your magic, whether it's crystals or herbs or special waters, all of those things will enhance it. So for us, we like to use something of every element in our magic: earth, air, fire, water, and spirit. You get those 5 things together, you put them together to create your spell, and the enhancement and the vibration is going to be a lot stronger than just writing it down and lighting it on fire. So the more that you put into it, the more vibration you build. Magic should never be performed for pay. So there is a gray line there. There are times that I have done spells for people. However, it's not something that I would offer to the general public. I do, however, make spell kits. So that's one way that you could have if someone comes to you and says, hey, I really need a love spell. I want to meet my soulmate. How can I do it? You can put a spell kit together, but I would not go into performing the spell work for them. In our sacred circle, we're always lighting candles for each other. That's different. We're a community. We believe that if one person needs protection, there's more than that one person in the circle. We all need protection. So when we are working magic together, it's when one person needs something, so does everyone else. Okay, but when it comes to being, going into business as a spellcaster, then you're kind of crossing some lines. However, there are a lot of times when we do the spell kits and we say, here's a spell kit to meet your spirit guide, and we do that type of exchange, it is balanced out. But I would not suggest doing spells for money. And performing them on your own. You can get yourself into some serious trouble with that. Magic should never be used to play up one's vanity or pride. That's number 6. So we can believe in our path. We can go for the best possible body, the best possible life that we can dream of and desire, but it's not about feeding our ego. It's about finding our wholeness. And when we are in search for our wholeness and our purpose, we change as we walk that path. So make sure that when you're doing your magic, you're not doing it because you want to show your mother-in-law that, you're better than she is or anything like that. There's no comparison. There's no competition in magic. Keep it yours, what you truly want, and you're good to go. So magic can be worked for your own gain. That's the number 7. Magic can be worked for your own gain, but only if you're certain that it's not going to harm anyone else and that it is something that you truly desire. Most of the time, anything that you are performing magic on, if it isn't fully aligned, it's not going to manifest. Okay? So you don't really have to worry about that. 8, magic deserves a sound investment. This means that you will be purchasing tools, herbs, candles, stones, whatever you need for ingredients. We find that when we're doing a spell for something and we have to go and search out its ingredients, it's part of the sacred way. You get to see how long it's supposed to take you to get your herbs or where you find it. All of that is an important part of creating the ritual in the first place. Number 9, magic is a divine art. So the magician and all of the tools and everything should always be kept clean and pure. So once in a while, you'll want to activate your wands. You'll want to smudge your pillows. You know, we take care of the things that we're working with. Number 10, magic is not always serious. Magic is about having fun. Like, you need to be excited when you're doing your spells. You gotta feel like, yeah, I'm gonna, you know, you gotta put your witch hat on and know that you're tapping into something when you're doing it. So having fun is part of the rituals. And that's also finding your talents. Once you find out what your talent is or what element works best for you, it gets more exciting. And when things start to happen and your ritual work is working, it gets really exciting. Then you just don't want to stop. Number 11, magic is intent. So magic, that's exactly what magic is about. Whatever we intend to happen will. So it's important to make sure that you're achieving your certain energies and the things that you want because of the intentions that you're going after. So magic is all about desires and intention. And then it's also about bringing in that life force of the universe that will help bring that into place. So intentions align us with natural life forces that we can tap into. The more we intend to happen, the more outcome will come through. So I wanted to talk before we go into our Book of Shadows, because we're doing class on a Tuesday. Every month that we do our class, I want to talk about the day that we're doing it on. So Tuesdays are a day that is ruled by Mars, and we like to use Tuesdays and any influences that Mars has for any operations that have to do with conflict, hunting, surgeries, going to the doctors, physical strength, any type of lust, courage, or debates, as well as any type of athletic energy that we need, contests and competitions. The other thing with Mars is and Tuesday is doing any type of rituals that involve men. So after saying that, you may notice now that on Tuesdays, some of those things are going to be active. Maybe your man is like driving you nuts, or maybe he's, you know, turning you on, okay? But that would have to do with the Mars influence. Maybe some type of conflict is coming up, you know? So you want to get to know what Tuesdays and Mars brings to you, okay? Now, of course, this Tuesday, today, and next Tuesday are both waxing. So that would be influences of Mars bringing us something that we can receive then after the full moon. So on Tuesday, December 17th and the 24th, things are going to be arising up that need to go. Okay, so getting to know how the influences of the moon works along with the days will really help you with magic, okay? Let's get our Book of Shadows out, and we're going to do that. So going through the read and those principles are quite important. I do want you to listen to this again when you get into before we start next class, because next class we will be starting to work some ritual work and putting together some spells, okay? So if you have your Book of Shadows, and I have 3 of them here, so there's my first one. And I typically try to do a Book of Shadows a year. And when I say I try, that means that I try to have all my papers full in my book so that the next year I can start a new one. So this has been mine for the last 2 years, but it's really thick. And I'm really wanting to start another one. And you can even find little books of shadows like this. This one I like to use for recipes. So you may have a Book of Shadows with your spells. Right now, we're going to do this whole class, and I want that to be part of your Book of Shadows. So make sure you put the Wiccan read in it, And then I'm going to post some of these principles, and you can put that in there as well, because it is something that you'll want to share. So whenever we have a book of shadows, it's really important that we bless them and we protect them. And when we do a consecration on our book of shadows, that means that that book becomes a magical object. And oh my gosh, when my son, I have a 20, he's turning 22, but when my son was like really young, just a little stinker in diapers, I had my book of shadows on a bookshelf. And I didn't really realize how powerful blessing and the consecration of the book of shadows could be. But what happened is he grabbed it and it like burned his hands. And it got so hot, he screamed and dropped it. And that's exactly what happens. So if there is someone of ill intent, or there's someone with negative energy, and they go to grab your book of shadows, or if they don't quite know what it means and they might have grabbed it to rip it or something, it will burn. So know that you should keep your book of shadows somewhere safe so that people can't just go to pick it up because they may get burnt. Spirit will also try to get to your book of shadows. So it is good to have your book of shadows standing up. And sometimes you'll find that it will end up on the floor, or you may get your book and it has some gunk on it, like something sticky. Then that would represent a spirit energy trying to get onto your book. So being aware of what your book of shadows looks like, and understanding that if you look at it and all of a sudden there's a big scratch across the front, that had to do with spirit. Something was trying to get into that magic. So we use a book of shadows because it's used by an individual as a magical journal. And we put into it all of our experiences, our thoughts, meditations that we may do, spells, any information that we would go back to. So it becomes an encyclopedia. And a lot of times our books of shadows will also be used by a group. So say someone in my sacred circle wants a spell for something, I may hand them one of my book of shadows and say, it's in this one, you can look. So it will also contain different things that you can share. You also want to put into it philosophies and things that you believe in, and also methods of operation in your magical working. A book of shadows should also contain a record of all of your spells that you have done. Now, I've been doing spells for like 20 years, and now the spells that I work are basically ones that have worked for me. So because I have that and I know how fast my manifestations occur, I don't write down every single one I do. But for the first few years, it is important to write down the ingredients of the spell and what you're doing it for, when you've done it, and then when it has manifested. And I've done that for about 12 years. And even when I do my essential oils right now, I do a lot of spell work with essential oils, I always write the ingredients down. So put your ingredients down, what you're using for herbs or oils, or even tools, so that you have that and you use it like a recipe book. So we also want to record events that we've gone to that are magical. We want to put in the full moon ceremony and different Sabbath ceremonies that we put in. So there's a lot of things that we put in there, and everything has to do with things that we're manifesting or the things that we find are sacred. It's also a good idea to list important songs maybe. Maybe you have a chant that you do. I have some of my drumming chants written in there. But your book of shadows is an important magical tool, and it should be treated like it is a magical tool. You don't want anyone else but yourself to see it or have access to it unless you allow them to. And if it is used by a group, everyone in the group should be initiated and also be told, the book of shadows should be told who is able to open the book. And a lot of times there'll be a page where we call it a scribe, and we'll have people write their names in it so that they are also responsible for using it. Special pens are good. So if you have a special pen to use, in the old days we used quills. And still today, certain spells will make certain inks, and that's really fun. So you're going to be making magical ink too. There's also inks that disappear and you can only see certain ways, so they're pretty neat. Some people will wrap their book in silk, or they'll have it locked up. I don't. I love my Book of Shadows. I have it in every room I'm in. I got one Book of Shadows in my bedroom and a bunch of them here. I got some in my kitchen. So you keep it how you want it. It depends on your environment. In my house, there's only me and my husband, so I know I don't really have to worry about too much. So before using your Book of Shadows, it's important for it to be consecrated. And there's lots of different methods. So if you don't like this method, you can Google other methods and other prayers and chants that you can do. But we are going to do this one. And typically, whenever you're doing a blessing on your Book of Shadows, it's important that it's during a waxing moon. So anytime before the full moon, so new moon to full moon is when we can bless our Book of Shadows. So we want to cast a circle, which we have, but we are going to do that together. So hold your Book of Shadows in your hands. You want to be able to hold them with your left and your right. Remember, your left hand is your receiving and your right hand is your manifestation hand. So hold them both and repeat after me as we cast the circle. In this place, the circle's round. I consecrate the sacred ground. With golden light, the space around. All power here contained and bound. From the north, the things of mind. From the east, one second. I didn't want to do that one. No, I gotta stop. We're gonna say the first part of the circle, and then we're actually going to turn to the north before we move forward, okay? So just repeat after me again. In this place, the circle's round. I consecrate the sacred ground. With golden light, the space around. All power here contained and bound. Now we want to face the north. So if you could have your book facing the north. North is behind me, so I'm holding it this way. And you want to make sure your Book of Shadows is not upside down when you're doing this. So you want to hold your book to the north. And you want to close your eyes. And you want to feel your book. And as you're feeling your book, make sure your eyes are closed and your book is facing the north. Focus on what you're seeing behind your eyelids. And you want to try to visualize a beam of light shining down from the universe. And it's coming in from the top of your head. And as it comes in through the top of your head, it goes into the book that you're holding. Then I want you to say this after me. I consecrate this Book of Shadows with earth so that it may be fitting for my magical energy. So I consecrate this Book of Shadows with earth so that it may be fitting for my magical energy. And then we're going to turn to the east. And turn your book to the east. You can turn all the way if you want, or you can just hold your book to the east and close your eyes and take note on what you see behind your eyes. And sometimes you'll see like motions of light, or you might just see stripes, or you might see, it doesn't matter what you see, but you do want to focus with your eyes closed. And imagine that energy of light. And it's coming in into the book. And breathe deep 3 times because we're connecting to the air. And say after me, I consecrate this book of shadows with air so that it may be fitting for my magical energy. So I consecrate this book of shadows with air so that it may be fitting for my magical energy. Now you want to blow it 3 times. And then we're going to turn to the south. And if you do have your candle, you can grab my candle. Or you can use smudge. So with this part, you can use your candlelight, or you can use smudge or incense. And I want you to just hold it towards the south. And I have the candle. I'll show you, I'll lift this up. I have the candle right in front of me, kind of shining on my book. And you want to close your eyes and focus on that light. Try to at least feel or see something coming into the top of your head, channeling down into your hands. And repeat after me. Pay attention to what you see with your eyes closed. I consecrate this book of shadows with fire, so that it may be fitting for my magical energy. And once you do that, we want to pass the book over the candle 3 times in a circle. So I'm going to go like this, 3 times over my candle. And then we're going to go to the west. And we're going to hold our hand, or hold the book in our hands, our book of shadows. And you want to focus on that white light. You want to see if behind your eyelids, if that energy or what you're seeing has changed. The frequency, what you're seeing has changed. And as you hold your book to the west, say after me, I consecrate this book of shadows with water, so that it may be fitting in our magical work. And now, because we're focusing on the water element in the west, we want to hold it in our arms and hold it like this, like we're hugging our book. Because you have to remember that the power of the west has to do with our soul and our heart. It's the healing energy. So whenever we need to heal our emotions or tap into our feelings, we use the west and the water. And you can also sprinkle your book if you have water, but it's mainly holding it. And when you hold it, you want to take note, like, can you feel yourself warm up? Do you feel the book in your heart? And then we need to ask Spirit to come to us. So we want to go back into the position where we're looking at each other, or the way we were in the beginning. And you want to look at your book. And you want to take note, which hand is stronger? Was it your left or your right? And then you want to say after me, I consecrate this book of shadows with life, so that it may be fitting for my magical energy. And then again, we need to take our breath and blow it 3 times, right across it. And we're giving life to our book. And when I blow, I just imagine my breath going right over it. Now, the other thing we will want to do is you will want to place your book on the floor where you can see it. And you will want to do this, if your room isn't dark, you may want to do this after. But what you'll want to do is, once where your room is darker, put this on the floor where you can see it at a distance. And you want to look at it and imagine the light. So you know how we talked about seeing the aura of the candle? Well, now we want to see the aura of our magical book of shadows. So you want to put it on the ground, make sure it's dark, or you can even put it away, like as long as it's within 4 feet or more away from you, and look at it and try to see some type of psychic energy, either gray or white glowing energy around it. And for the first few months, as we start writing in it, you will want to do this after each class so that you can see if that energy, that psychic power and that light is getting stronger. So if you have been able to see that tonight, and that you can see on your book of shadows, that mist, and sometimes you have to actually like go to where it is on the ground, put your hands just gently above it and move slow to see if you can see that energy. You will watch, as you develop your book of shadows, you will watch it become more powerful. It will become more lighter when things are darker, and it will start to feel different. Your book of shadows will be very special to you. If you misplace it or if something spills on it, it's like you'll just kind of freak. So I want you to focus on trying to see the energy of your book of shadows. Maybe it'll be easier if you have it sideways and you can see some of those white lights coming from the pages. But take note on where you're seeing that psychic energy, because it will come and it will appear. So now we are finished with tonight. I'm going to be posting some more videos, and I also want you to collect cedar. So let me see what we have here. I want to see what day. We're on Tuesday, so let's say if everyone can get cedar by the 10th, that gives us a week. And when you're collecting cedar, it's very important that you connect with the tree first. Try to feel its energy with its left hand. Once you feel the connection, then you tell the cedar, I need medicine. I'm going to post what type of medicine we're going to use the cedar for. And then once you're going to cut some pieces. So you do want to cut it. We're not looking for fallen pieces. And after you cut the cedar, you want to leave an offering. Traditionally, you can leave a stone with a blessing in it. You can use tobacco. You can also use dimes. A lot of times I'll put money into the ground at the base of a tree because the underworld loves that, or even food. So make sure you have an offering while you're doing it. And you're going to want to cut I would say get about 6 pieces of just the green leaves. We don't want any of the stems. Okay, try to get that for the 10th, and then on the 10th, I'm going to post how we are going to work with the cedar. Once we do this, you'll be able to understand how to work with the other herbs that we're going to be doing. Okay, but I wanted to start with cedar. It's the perfect time to do it. It's a very strong purification. We're going to do everything from bathing in it, to drinking it, to burning it, and to making things with it. So it'll get fun. Okay, I'm sorry I yapped the whole time on all these principles. Next class we'll be getting into our tools and setting up altars. So you can start collecting the tools even though I haven't taught about them. Look for something that you can use as a cauldron. So a nice big ashtray, a cauldron, an old pot with a lid is always good. Anything that can handle hot stuff, things burning. A wand, a chalice, you want a pentacle. So even one that you wear or one that you can have on your altar. Actually, don't do that. Let's make one of those. We're going to make our own altar pentacles. And so chalice, cauldron, wand, a knife, or an athame, or a dagger. So just see what you get that's you're drawn to. And then we'll talk more about brooms and adding other things to it. Nice, I saw that little mini broom. That's sweet. Yes, we'll do that too. Maybe we'll make mini brooms for our altars and the pentacle tile. I'll show you mine actually before we go, just so you can see what I'm talking about. Pardon my dress and I had to put this hillbilly checkered thing over my dress because it was so cold. But this is my altar tile. And you can see it's got a spot for my tea light. So when I light my tea light off of that, I can put my cauldron on it and it heats up my cauldron nice. Or I will use it just as a protective piece on my altar. So I think we'll make one of those together or online or whatever, and experiment a little bit. So until then, put the Wiccan Read into your Book of Shadows, and also we'll put the cedar in there too. So you want an herb section, you want a candle spell section, and then you want a section that's all wisdom and knowledge that you'll be learning. Okay? Okay, with that, I am going to leave you. Let's pick a card before we go. I'm going to pull one on the energy that's around. So for this month, what should we be focusing on? I got study. Look at that. So we have lots to learn this month. We're going to be guided. Everything that connects with us right now will have to do with our journey in the spring. So any type of ideas, take note on. It's all got to do with your next year and what you should be doing. So pay attention to where you're being drawn. Okay, we'll let you go. Let's open the circle. Counterclockwise once. The circle is open, but never unbroken. Merry we meet, merry we part, until we meet again with love in our hearts. So mote it be. Take care and have a good night. Bye-bye.